live in this wild era where people will literally document what they had for breakfast. But today we're decoding a totally fascinating, kind of elusive type of person. I'm talking about the ones who deliberately stay off the digital grid. We're going to take a behavioral deep dive into the minds of people who just don't post. And we'll be using the latest psychological insights to figure out exactly what drives them.
Seriously, think about it for a sec. Have you ever noticed someone in your life, maybe a friend, a coworker, or a family member, who absolutely never posts pictures online? I mean, no selfies, no birthday dinners, literally not even a picture of their dog? In a world that constantly, and I mean constantly, rewards attention and visibility, choosing not to share those moments makes a person seem almost invisible, right? It's an incredibly rare behavior these days. When literally everyone else is broadcasting their every single move, this quiet resistance begs the question, why do they do it? What is actually happening psychologically when someone chooses to completely opt out of the digital spotlight?
The tension at play here is just fascinating. On one side, we've got this super loud attention economy, right? It's a system where broadcasting your life is the absolute norm, and attention is literally treated like a currency. But then, on the other side, we have the quiet, invisible user. Now, society's default assumption is usually that people who don't post are, just shy, socially awkward, or maybe even a little antisocial. People look at them and think, well, that's kind of weird. But what if it's not weird at all? What if it's actually a superpower? Because the psychological reality we are unpacking today shows that this behavior actually reveals remarkably high emotional intelligence and a very specific, totally unshakable kind of confidence.
Section 1. Why some never post.
So, psychologists point out that people who rarely post pictures are operating with this concept called high privacy orientation. Basically, this means they place an immense, absolute value on controlling what others see and think about them. And this is absolutely crucial. This isn't about being antisocial or hiding from the world out of fear. Actually, scratch that. It's a deliberate, highly conscious choice to rigorously protect their mental space. Think of it like comparing their minds to a private, gated sanctuary rather than a public park where anyone can just wander in and leave their trash. They are carefully guarding their mental energy rather than broadcasting their life for public consumption, and doing that allows them to maintain a really profound sense of inner peace.
Let's look at how that plays out practically. I mean, most people online are stuck in this relentless, totally exhausting cycle of seeking validation through likes, shares, and comments. But the non-poster, they rely entirely on self-validation. They possess this subtle yet totally profound inner security. Imagine they hike to the top of a beautiful mountain. For them, the joy is entirely in the breathtaking view, the crisp air, and just the personal accomplishment of the climb itself. It is definitely not in waiting to see how many fire emojis their friends drop in the comments section later. They simply don't need to announce their life events to a timeline to feel good about them. The satisfaction comes from the lived experience itself, completely free from the need for any digital applause.
Section 2. Privacy and self-awareness. This brings us to a really fascinating clinical term, self-concept clarity. Research shows that people who share less online typically have a highly developed, basically crystal clear sense of who they are. They already know their values, they know their goals, and they know what truly matters to them, without needing even a drop of external approval to confirm it. Think about how much energy it actually takes to constantly curate your life for an audience. You're choosing the right filter, thinking of the perfect witty caption, worrying if people are actually going to engage with it. Well, because these individuals have self-concept clarity, they get all that energy back to, actually live their lives. They are completely freed from the exhausting urge to chase online trends or constantly compare their behind-the-scenes reality to the highlight reels of everyone else. Their happiness, it is entirely internally generated.
Section 3. The emotionally secure mind.
Posting less is directly linked to some incredibly empowering traits. People with secure self-esteem don't post selfies to prove their worth, simply because they already feel complete. Their confidence literally does not require external attention to survive. And psychologists note that because they have this emotional balance, they're actually significantly less anxious and way less approval-seeking. Instead of blowing hours curating a digital persona, their energy is highly focused on real-world goals and tangible accomplishments. Whether that means mastering a complex new hobby, building a business, or cultivating deep, meaningful relationships face-to-face, they are putting their effort into things that yield actual, real-world satisfaction, rather than just digital metrics.
Section 4. Escaping the digital illusion.
These individuals operate with what's known as an internal locus of evaluation. Think of it kind of like having an unshakable internal compass, rather than relying on a noisy crowd to hand you a map. It's this cognitive trait where you judge yourself entirely by your own personal standards. not by the shifting and honestly often superficial standards of the crowd. Because of this powerful internal compass, non-posters are highly introspective. They really think before they speak, and they only choose to share something when it genuinely matters. They heavily prioritize authentic, face-to-face conversations over superficial digital interactions, and that allows them to form connections that are just so much deeper and way more resilient.
And because they're so introspective, they deeply understand the trap of social comparison theory. Now, this theory explains how easily social media can distort our reality, right? It basically tricks us into constantly measuring our own worth against the highly curated, often totally exaggerated lives of others. In fact, the psychological source material reveals a pretty surprising fact. Just a few minutes of passive social media scrolling can dramatically spike anxiety and depressive symptoms in the average user. Non-posters intuitively grasp this danger. They recognize that the digital world is basically an illusion. It's a highlight reel that doesn't reflect everyday reality at all, and they actively choose to step away from that toxic comparison game. So, by staying low-key, non-posters actively protect their mental health from this endless comparison cycle. Instead of participating in a digital performance that, let's be honest, causes anxiety and distorts reality, they make a conscious, protective choice. They choose peace over performance. Just take a moment to let the weight of that choice sink in. Peace over performance. It is an incredibly proactive approach to mental well-being. It means valuing your own quiet reality way more than a loud, manufactured digital presence. It's a trade-off, for sure, but it ultimately buys them a tremendous amount of mental freedom.
Section 5. The power of real confidence.
Okay, we are officially reframing the non-poster, right here and right now. The next time you notice someone who keeps their life off the timeline, let's go ahead and dismantle the myth of the quote-unquote